My name is Belland. I'm 25 years old. I work as a cook at Romanos, one of the biggest restaurants in the city. I've been there for 6 years now, ever since I graduated from a 1-year cooking course at the local community college. After high school, I couldn't afford to go to a real university like most of my classmates. My parents didn't have money for tuition, and I didn't qualify for enough financial aid. So while everyone else was picking their dream colleges, I was looking at trade schools and short-term programs. The cooking course seemed like the best option. It was only 1 year, and the job prospects looked decent. When I first started at Romanos, I was just an assistant chef. I spent my days chopping vegetables, washing dishes, and doing whatever the rail cooks told me to do. The work was hard, the hours were long, and the pay was terrible. But I stuck with it over the years. I worked my way up to being a regular cook. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady work. The thing is, I don't just work one shift at Romanos. I work 2 shifts almost every single day. I'm there from 10 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Then I come back at 5 o'clock and work until 11 at night. Sometimes later, if we're really busy, I hardly ever get days off, and I haven't had a real vacation in years. Why do I work so much? Because my family needs the money. My parents have a mortgage on their house that they can't afford on their own. My dad works construction when he can find jobs, and my mom works part-time at a grocery store. It's not enough to cover all their bills. And then there's my sister Jessica. Jessica's 20 now, and she's been in college for the past 2 years. She goes to State University, which is in the neighboring state, so she lives in the dorms there most of the time. College is expensive. Tuition, room and board, textbooks, all of it. My parents decided that Jessica deserved to go to college, even though they couldn't afford it. 2 years ago, when Jessica was 18 and starting college, my parents told me that Jessica was smart and had potential, unlike me. They said I had already chosen my path by going to cooking school instead of trying harder to get into college. Since Jessica was the one with a real future ahead of her, it was my responsibility to help make sure she could finish her education. They explained that I was already working and making decent money, so I should help support the family by paying for Jessica's college expenses and helping with the mortgage. I agreed because I didn't know what else to do. I loved my sister, and I wanted her to succeed. If that meant I had to work harder and give up most of my paycheck, then that's what I would do. So, for the past 2 years, I've been giving almost my entire salary to my mom. She uses it to pay the mortgage and to cover Jessica's college expenses. I keep just enough money to pay for gas for my old car, buy a few groceries, and maybe get a cheap lunch at work once in a while. I don't buy new clothes unless something gets completely worn out. I don't go out with friends. I don't do anything that costs money. I live in the same small bedroom I've had since I was a kid. It's got my old twin bed, a dresser that's falling apart, and barely enough room to walk around. Sometimes I think about getting my own apartment, but I can't afford it on what's left of my paycheck after I give most of it to my family. Most of the time, I'm too tired to think about it much anyway. When you're working 12 or 13 hours a day, 6 days a week, you don't have energy left to worry about your living situation. You just go to work, come home, eat something quick, and fall into bed so you can get up and do it all again the next day. Jessica comes home from college maybe once a month, sometimes less. When she's here, she mostly hangs out with her high school friends who are also home from their colleges. She doesn't talk to me much except to ask if I can give her some extra spending money or to complain about how hard her classes are. My parents always seem happier when Jessica is home. They ask her about her classes, her friends, her plans for the future. They never really ask me about my work or how I'm doing. I guess they figure that since I'm just cooking at a restaurant, there's not much to talk about. I've gotten used to this life over the past few years. I thought this was just how things were supposed to be. I thought I was doing the right thing by helping my family. I thought this was what being a good daughter and a good sister looked like. But everything changed last Tuesday night when I came home from my double shift, exhausted like always, and found Jessica sitting at the kitchen table with my parents. They were all laughing about something, and they looked excited. I hadn't seen them this happy in a long time. "Hey," I said, dropping my bag by the door. "What's going on?" Jessica looked up at me with a big smile. "Oh, Bella, I was just reminding Mom and Dad that my 21st birthday is next week. I decided I want to celebrate it here at home instead of at school." I nodded. "That's nice. We can have a little family dinner or something." That's when my mom started smiling wider. "Oh, honey, Jessica has much bigger plans than that. In a week on Sunday, Jessica's friends are coming here. 25 people total." She laughed. "You should be ready, Bella. You'll need to cook all the food, clean up after the guests, and be nice to everyone. Pretend you're happy to have them all here." I stared at her, feeling like someone had just punched me in the stomach. I was in complete shock. I already worked 2 shifts every single day. I rarely got days off, and I hadn't had a real vacation in several years. And now, on my one rare day off, they wanted me to cook for 25 people, clean everything, and pretend to be happy about it. "I don't agree to that," I said quietly. Jessica immediately started screaming. "You're so selfish, Bella. You don't love me. You want to ruin my birthday." My father's voice was stern and cold. "Bella, you'll do what we're telling you to do. If Jessica wants Anna's birthday party, she can have it at a restaurant," I said. My mother laughed like I'd said something ridiculous. "We don't have money for a restaurant. But if you can talk to your boss and arrange everything for free, then sure, we'll do it at the restaurant." "My boss won't work at a loss," I replied. "You'd still have to pay for a party there." My mother's smile disappeared. "Then either you find the money for Jessica's restaurant party, or you cook everything and clean everything here for her guests." I couldn't believe how they were talking to me. I was supporting the entire family financially, and they were calling me selfish and ungrateful. Now they wanted to force me to serve a party for 25 people on my day off. I didn't want to make a scene or start screaming like Jessica had. I just turned around, walked upstairs to my room, and locked the door behind me. I sat on my bed and tried to figure out what I should do next. I sat in my room for what felt like hours, just staring at the wall and thinking. The house had gotten quiet downstairs. I could hear Jessica and my parents talking in low voices, probably discussing how unreasonable I was being. Every now and then, I heard Jessica's voice get louder, still complaining about how I was trying to ruin her birthday. The more I thought about what had just happened, the more upset I became. Not angry, upset, just sad and confused. I realized that my family didn't really see me as a person with my own life and my own needs. They saw me as someone who existed just to make their lives easier. I was like a human ATM machine that also happened to be able to cook and clean. I thought about all the money I'd given them over the past 2 years alone. I did some quick math in my head and realized it was probably more than $50,000. That was enough money for me to have gotten my own apartment, maybe even saved up for my own education or training. Instead, I was still living in my childhood bedroom, working myself to death, and now being told I had to spend my rare day off serving a party. That's when I remembered something my friend Sarah had told me a few weeks ago. Sarah works as a waitress at Romanos, and we've become pretty close over the years. She's one of the few people who knows about my family situation, and she's never been shy about telling me that she thinks it's all wrong. "Bella, your family is using you," she said more than once. They take all your money and don't give you any respect in return. That's not how families are supposed to work. I always told her that she didn't understand, that this was just how my family operated, and that I was okay with it. But Sarah never bought that excuse. You're not okay with it. She would say, you're just scared to admit that you're not okay with it. A few weeks ago, Sarah had mentioned that she was looking for a roommate. Her lease was up for renewal, and her current roommate was moving out. Sarah said she needed someone to help with the rent, and she'd asked if I knew anyone who might be interested. At the time, I'd told her I couldn't think of anyone. But now, sitting in my locked bedroom, I realized that maybe I could be that someone. I picked up my phone and called Sarah. She answered on the second ring. Hey, Bella, what's up? You sound upset. I am upset, I said. And then I told her everything that had happened downstairs. Sarah listened without interrupting, though I could hear her making little angry noises as I described what my family wanted me to do. That's it, she said when I finished. You're moving in with me. I'm serious, Bella. This has gone too far. Do you really mean that? I asked about the roommate thing. Of course I mean it. I've been telling you for months that you need to get out of that house. Your family treats you like a servant who pays them for the privilege of being their servant. Do you realize how much money you'll have once you stop supporting 3 other adults? You'll be able to afford the rent easily. Plus, you'll actually have money left over to live your own life. We talked for about 20 more minutes, working out the details. Sarah's apartment was a 2-bedroom place, about 15 minutes from the restaurant. The rent would be split evenly between us, and she said I could move in whenever I wanted. How about tomorrow morning? I asked. I have the day off, and I don't think I can stand to be in this house much longer. Perfect. I'll be here waiting for you. After I hung up the phone, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Excited. For the first time in years, I was going to do something for myself instead of for my family. I spent the rest of the evening quietly packing my things. I didn't have much, mostly clothes, a few books, some personal items that meant something to me. Everything fit into 3 cardboard boxes that I found in the basement. I had to be quiet about it because I didn't want my family to hear me moving around and start asking questions. Around midnight, I heard footsteps in the hallway. Someone knocked softly on my door. Bella. It was my mom. Can we talk? I'm tired. Mom, can we talk tomorrow? I need you to stop acting like a child and start thinking about how to arrange the best party for your sister. This is important, Bella. I smiled to myself in the dark. She still had no idea what was coming. Well, discuss all this tomorrow, Mom. I said, okay, honey. Good night. I waited until I heard her go back to her room. Then I finished packing. I put the boxes in my closet so no one would see them if they came into my room in the morning. I barely slept that night. I kept thinking about what I was going to do, and part of me was scared. I'd been living this way for so long that I didn't really know how to live any other way. What if I was making a mistake? What if my family really did need me and I was being selfish by leaving? But then I thought about what Sarah had said, that my family was using me like an ATM. And I thought about Jessica screaming that I was selfish just because I didn't want to spend my day off serving her friends. And I thought about my parents calling me ungrateful when I'd been supporting them financially for 6 years. By the time morning came, I knew I was making the right decision. I got up early around 6 o'clock in the morning when I knew everyone else would still be asleep. I quietly carried my boxes out to my car one at a time. The house was completely silent. I left my key on the kitchen counter, got in my car, and drove away without looking back. When I got to Sarah's apartment, she was already waiting for me with coffee and a big smile. She helped me carry the boxes upstairs, and we spent the morning setting up my new room. It felt strange to be arranging my things in a space that was actually mine, where I could make my own decisions about how things should look. "So, how does it feel to be free?" Sarah asked as we finished putting my clothes in the dresser. "Scary," I admitted, "but also good. Really good." We ordered sushi from a nearby restaurant and bought some beer to celebrate my move. It felt like a real celebration, the first time in years that I was doing something just because I wanted to, not because someone else expected me to. Around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, my phone started ringing. It was my mom. I let it go to voicemail. Then my dad called. Then Jessica. Then my mom again. I ignored all of them. "They probably went to check on you and found your room empty," Sarah said, looking at my phone as it rang again. "Good. Let them panic for a while." I picked up my phone and checked the messages they'd been leaving. The first few were confused, asking where I was and why I wasn't answering. But as the hours went on, the messages got more frantic. "Bella, where are you? Your room is empty. What's going on?" That was from my mom. "Bella, you need to come home right now. We need to talk about Jessica's party." That was from my dad. "Bella, I can't believe you're doing this to me. My birthday is in 5 days." That was from Jessica. I showed the messages to Sarah and she just shook her head. "Look at this," she said. "Even when they're panicking, they're still only thinking about themselves. Your mom wants to know where you are, but not if you're okay. Your dad wants you to come home to talk about the party, not to see if you're safe. And your sister is worried about her birthday, not about you." She was right. None of them had asked if I was okay or if something bad had happened to me. They were just upset that their plan was falling apart. I decided not to answer them yet. I wanted them to worry for a while, to think about what they'd lost. The next day was Monday, and I went to work as usual. I was in the middle of prepping vegetables when my boss, Mr. Romano, came into the kitchen. "Bella, your parents are here. They want to talk to you." My stomach dropped. Of course, they'd figured out where to find me. They knew I worked here almost every day. Do I have to talk to them? You don't have to, but they seem pretty upset. Maybe just get it over with. I sighed and followed him out to the dining room. My parents were sitting at a table in the corner looking stressed and angry. Mr. Romano led us to his office so we could have some privacy. As soon as the door closed, my mother started in on me. "What do you think you're doing, Bella? Jessica's birthday party is in 4 days and you disappear like this." "I moved out," I said simply. "You moved out?" My father looked confused. "What do you mean you moved out?" "I mean, I don't live at your house anymore. I have my own place now." My mother's face turned red. "This is ridiculous. You need to come home right now. Jessica's friends are coming on Sunday and you have to clean the house and plant a menu for the party." I couldn't help it. I started laughing. "Did you seriously think I left home because I wanted to do more work for you?" "Then what's this about?" my father asked, still looking confused. "It's about me deciding to take control of my own life. I'm not going to help you with money anymore. I'm not paying your mortgage, and I'm not paying for Jessica's college tuition." The color drained from both their faces. My mother grabbed her chest like she was having heart palpitations. "You can't do that to us," she whispered. "We depend on that money. You should have thought about that before you decided to treat me like your personal servant," I said. "Do you realize I've given you more than $50,000 over the past 2 years? You shouldn't be so greedy and count money like that," my mother snapped. "I'm not listening to your lectures anymore," I said, standing up. "I've moved out and I'm not coming back. From now on, you can pay for your own expenses. If you want Jessica to finish college, she can get a job and pay for it herself." I walked to the office door and opened it. "You need to leave now. Don't come to my workplace again." My mother started to protest, but Mr. Romano appeared in the doorway. He'd obviously been listening to at least part of our conversation. "Is everything okay here, Bella?" "My parents were just leaving," I said. "Actually, we're not done talking," my mother said. But Mr. Romano stepped into the office. "I think you are done. This is a place of business, not a family counseling center. I'm going to have to ask you to leave." When my parents didn't move, Mr. Romano called over 2 of the security guards. "Please escort these people out of the restaurant and don't let them back in." After my parents were gone, Mr. Romano looked at me with concern. "You okay, kid?" "Yeah, I think I am." "Good. Family stuff is complicated, but you can't let people walk all over you even if they're related to you." I finished my shift and went home to Sarah's apartment. I felt exhausted, but also relieved. The confrontation was over, and I'd said everything I needed to say, but my family wasn't done trying to get me back. When I got home, I had 17 missed calls and dozens of text messages. They were begging me to come back, saying we could work things out, that Jessica would understand if I couldn't help with the party. "They still don't get it," Sarah said when I showed her the messages. "They think this is about the party. I know, but I think I need to make it completely clear that I'm done." I went into my banking app and canceled the automatic transfers I'd set up for my parents' mortgage and Jessica's tuition payments. Then I called Jessica's college and told them I would no longer be paying for her education. From now on, they needed to work directly with my parents for any payment issues. When I was finished, I felt lighter than I had in years. For the first time since high school, my money was actually going to be my money. My family didn't give up easily. For the next few days, they kept calling and texting, trying different approaches to get me to come back. First, they tried guilt, telling me how much they missed me and needed me. Then, they tried bargaining, promising that I wouldn't have to work at Jessica's party, that I could be a guest instead. "We've decided that you won't have to cook or clean for Jessica's birthday." One of my mom's texts said, "You can be the guest of honor at the party." I showed the message to Sarah, and she rolled her eyes. Guest of honor? What an honor that would be, getting to watch your sister's friends eat food that someone else paid for. I laughed and didn't bother responding to the message. Instead, I blocked all their phone numbers. I was tired of listening to their attempts to manipulate me into coming back. 2 weeks passed, and I heard nothing from my family. It was the most peaceful 2 weeks I'd had in years. I was still working my regular shifts at Romano's, but without the financial pressure of supporting 3 other people, I didn't feel the need to work double shifts every day. I actually started taking my scheduled days off. Sarah and I had plenty of money to cover rent and groceries, and I even had money left over for things I hadn't been able to afford in years. New clothes, going out to dinner, maybe even planning a vacation. Then one afternoon while I was at work, I got a call from my Aunt Linda, my mom's sister. I almost didn't answer because I figured my family had asked her to call me, but I was curious about what she might say. "Bella, can we meet somewhere and talk? It's important." I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop downtown after my shift ended. When I got there, Linda was already waiting for me, looking worried. "Your mother told me everything. She started as soon as I sat down. She said you abandoned them, that they're in a desperate situation now and need money." "Did she tell you why I left?" I asked. "She said you got upset about helping with Jessica's birthday party." I spent the next 20 minutes explaining to Linda what had really been happening, how I'd been supporting the entire family for 6 years, how they treated me like a servant, and how they expected me to work on my rare day off to serve a party for 25 people. Linda listened quietly, but I could tell she wasn't really hearing what I was saying. When I finished, she shook her head. "Bella, I understand that you were upset, but families help each other. Your parents raised you, and now they need your support. I'm not going to support people who treat me like I don't matter." I said, "They don't respect me, and they don't care about my life or my needs. But they're struggling now. Your dad had to get a second job, and your mother is working extra hours at the grocery store, and Jessica had to take time off from college because they can't afford her tuition anymore. That's their problem to solve," I said. "I'm not responsible for everyone else's life." Linda's face got red and her voice got louder. "I can't believe how selfish you're being. If this is how you're going to act, then I don't want to have anything to do with you either." "That's your choice," I said calmly, "but I'm not changing my mind." Linda stormed out of the coffee shop without saying goodbye. I sat there for a few more minutes, drinking my coffee and thinking about what she'd told me. My parents were both working extra jobs now to pay their bills. Jessica had taken a break from college and was probably working to save money for tuition. Part of me felt a little guilty, but mostly I felt relieved. They were finally taking responsibility for their own lives instead of expecting me to take care of everything. Several months have passed since then, and I've heard updates about my family through relatives and mutual friends. My parents are managing to pay their mortgage, though they're working a lot more hours. Jessica is working at a retail store and has moved back in with my parents to save money. She's planning to go back to college next year once she's saved enough for tuition. The relatives and family friends who know what happened have mixed reactions. Some of them think I'm terrible for abandoning my family. Others, especially the younger ones, tell me they think I did the right thing. Your family was taking advantage of you. My cousin Mark told me recently, "You shouldn't feel guilty for standing up for yourself." When people criticize me for what I did, I just tell them that I decided to take control of my own life, and I don't feel guilty about it. I supported my family for 6 years, while they treated me like I didn't matter. That was more than enough. My life now is completely different. I'm still living with Sarah, and we get along great as roommates. We split all the expenses evenly, and I have more money left over each month than I've had since I started working. Last month, Mr. Romano told me that he's planning to promote me to sous chef next year. It comes with a significant pay raise and more responsibility. I'm excited about it because it means I'm finally moving forward in my career instead of just working to support other people. I've also decided that once I get the promotion, I'm going to cut back on my hours. No more double shifts unless there's a real emergency. I want to have time for my own life, maybe take some cooking classes to improve my skills, or just relax and enjoy having free time. Next month, I'm taking my first real vacation in over 5 years. Sarah and I are going to drive to the coast for a long weekend. It's not a fancy trip, but it's something I'm doing just because I want to, not because someone else expects me to spend my time and money on them. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't left that night. I'd probably still be living in my childhood bedroom, working double shifts and giving away most of my paycheck. I'd probably have cooked and cleaned for Jessica's 21st birthday party, and then they would have expected me to do the same thing again for her 22nd birthday. I don't regret my decision at all. For the first time in my adult life, I'm living for myself instead of for other people. It took me 25 years to figure out that I deserve to have my own life, but I'm glad I figured it out eventually.